What's up, Dacetacular Nation? Yeah, I can use that now. It's I, Chris Dace, aka the Dace Man, bringing you another Dacetacular Mind. Now, I know the last one we recorded was back in January 2023, almost a year ago, and it was about the little one, Wade Dace. And before that, it had been a while too. So we haven't really been putting out too many of these, but realistically, this podcast, or this sessions, if you will, was created to be kind of like an outlet. When mentally I felt exhausted, needed to get something off my chest, and had no possible way to do that except through the form of podcasting, where I could talk at you and you can't talk back. So it allows me to get everything off my chest, get it out into the world, and then be done with it. Since I've been, I would say, in a good mental headspace for the past 2 years, the Dacetacular Mind kind of slowed down. But that doesn't mean that my life as a whole has slowed down. In fact, it's been very busy to the point where, outside of the low-key Potter nerd that we did with Cheever, I haven't really done any creative outlets in almost a year. Now, that doesn't mean we're not trying to get something together. I will have more news on that as this show progresses, stay tuned to the Facebook, I guess. But creatively, I haven't had too much of an outlet. I've had a new job that I've been at for over a year now. I have a almost 2-year-old at the time of this recording. And just, life happened really fast. Went from kind of like, oh, me, to now there's a lot of other people who depend on me in a serious aspect, whereas before it was a creative aspect. That doesn't mean that I don't need a creative outlet, and that's why I've decided to bring back the Dacetacular Mind for Season 3, and going to give you about 10 episodes. So I think I'm going to do this in like seasons going forward, where I do a group of episodes, push those out to the internet for you all to listen, if you are listening or if you're not, and then, take a hiatus until I get another batch built. So does that mean there's going to be a consistent schedule that, like, hey, starting in March, running for 10 weeks, we're going to get a Dacetacular Mind? Not necessarily. It could happen sooner. It could happen a little bit later. I'd like to keep it on a yearly basis. I'd like to keep it to 10 if I can. There's a lot to talk about. I've been on the planet for 35 years, and I'm barely scratching the surface based on what I've put out and what I have listed for this season. But it really needs to feel natural. And I think that's why when I do this podcast, Dacetacular Mind, if it doesn't feel natural, it doesn't feel right, then I'm not going to force it. Whereas, like, if we do Pod or Nerd, we're kind of reviewing a TV show. You need to be timely with it, and you do kind of have to force it. This needs to feel natural. This needs to feel like I want to do it. This needs to feel real. So I have 10 topics for us this season to talk about. And the first one is kind of a big one. And that is the weight loss journey that I have been on for about a year. So I'm going to basically give you some insight into how I think it happened, what happened to let me get to that point, and then ultimately what snapped me and said, hey, you need to fix this. The last part's pretty obvious. It happens to be a almost 2-year-old kid that made it happen, but honestly, it needed to happen, and we'll dive into it. So my weight loss journey is something that has been 2023. The entire year was focusing on rebuilding. We'll have episodes in the Dacetacular Mind Season 3 that talk about the end of the Dace Man show, that talk about the Game-a-thon, and ultimately just kind of putting all that creative stuff to the side because I wanted to fix who I was personally. Now, in order to do that, I needed to focus. So let's get in the Wayback Machine. Let's see how the weight problem began. So, as many of you may know or may not know, if this is the first exposure to me, I used to do wrestling, sports entertainment. A local independent promotion called OTW, and I was in the best shape of my life doing that. We'll say 2014 to 2016-ish. But that takes a toll on your body. It really does. Like, if you say it's fake, you're an idiot, because the pain is real. And it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of work. It takes a certain mindset to be able to do that. And physically, it was rough for me. I'm very tight. I'm not very flexible. So the impacts you take in that kind of business do take a toll on your body. Now, am I saying that's the ultimate reason as to why I gained the weight? No. But it didn't help that was like a precursor that I got hurt and then chose not to do anything about getting hurt. So about in the Wayback Machine, and we're talking almost, I hate putting numbers to it, 8 years ago in 2016, about the springtime, I got hurt. Now, was it wrestling related? No. Was it alcohol related? Yes. Did it have a slipping slide? Of course. You can't do that successfully. So I popped my ankle. Don't know medically if it was broken, sprained, whatever, because I didn't go to a doctor. When you're in your 20s, I was in my 20s. Late 20s, but I was in my 20s. You're invincible. You don't think about what you do to your body. You look at my 20s, it was just one decade of car wreck after car wreck. And the final straw on the car wreck was the slip and slide where I popped my ankle trying to surf down a slip and slide drunk. And somebody called my name, I turned, and pop! It didn't work properly. So I was drunk, so I was still able to move on it. But then I spent the next 2 weeks traveling to Atlanta for work and dragging that foot behind me like Quasimodo. Now, when I say that my 20s were a car wreck, it absolutely were. So there's people who have a nice recovery road where well, not nice, but there's some really better stories of realization and recovery, based on they went down a dark path, you did drugs, you got out, fantastic. My dumbass, which is totally preventable, not an addiction, nothing like that, did not care for the physical regard of my body. Look at any time I played softball prior to 2016, playing the outfield and tucking and rolling. Anytime I played volleyball, I had no regard for my body and would just dive. The earth does not give. There was the 3 years I did wrestling. Again, the earth does not give. But your body takes a beating. So you calculate that in all my 20s where I had no regard in sports of safety because, you took a tumble, you dove, you rolled through the outfield to get a softball in a beer league, which, why the hell are you trying so hard? You can bounce back within a day. As the 20s progressed and we got closer to 30, and especially after we got over that hump of 30, your body does not bounce back as quick. So all that stupid stuff I did in my 20s, it caught up in my 30s. And the ankle popping kind of being the, first domino of your body's done. You've abused it to a certain point, you're done. Did I stop abusing it? Of course not. One other factor that happens in your early 20s is alcohol. You're invincible, and then you put alcohol in you, and you think you're more invincible. Doing dumb stuff. I went through a wall on New Year's Eve. I would fake, being a fan of wrestling, you would start fucking around like that. And again, you just, your body's looser and your mind is not all there. So the moral of this whole little rant is that I put my body through a lot in my 20s, and I paid for it in my 30s. So if we go to that nexus event of my ankle popping, it really sent off a chain of things. So my ankle popped, I couldn't work out anymore. I was running about 4 miles a day. Every other day. I was actually doing lifting. I was eating okay. I wouldn't say I was eating. I'll never sit here and honestly tell you I diet correctly. Even after we get to the end of this story of weight loss journey, I don't diet. I just can't. Call me weak, call me stupid, tell me it's going to send me down the path again in 10 to 20 years. I like pizza, I'm going to eat fucking pizza. Don't tell me to fucking diet. But I did lay off alcohol. So yay, one win. So honestly, I was in peak Dace physical form. I was running. I actively tried to stay in shape. I was enjoying the wrestling thing. I was on the road a lot. And then when I came off the road around 2015, I was able to get some flexibility to get a routine going where I was running for my lunch breaks, running after work got done, and then also doing the wrestling thing, which demands that your body stays in some kind of shape. Maybe not perfection, like a bodybuilder, but you need to be able to move and be healthy and be strong because you're handling other people in the ring and you want to be safe with them. So once the ankle popped and I wasn't able to do that anymore, it's a domino effect. Okay, popped your ankle, you're not going to be running. I don't think after popping the ankle, I never ran again. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it was just the end of running. I used to run at Bethel Mill Park, Fasola Park. I would just go out and I had my paths where I knew it hit miles and stuff like that. That just ended after the ankle popped. I still stayed a little active with wrestling, but I turned into like a manager type role and then took maybe a bump here or there. But after the ankle popped, you stop moving, you stop using your body kind of ices itself, and then I hurt my knee. And when I hurt my knee, the one leg was just like done. Yeah, you weren't walking much. I used to get up during work to just move around to keep active. Just started sitting for 8 hours a day, and then I'd play video games or something after work, and then didn't move. So the lack of movement really started taking effect in the summer of 2016. And then ultimately I pretzeled up my back. And that just basically was the final nail in the coffin of just, I'm not going to work out anymore. Not doing the elliptical, not doing the bike, not even lifting. Canceled the gym membership. That was done. Simultaneously, I got my first serious girlfriend, or probably second serious girlfriend, but first in like 10 years. So you get comfortable. You found someone who likes you for who you are. You don't put as much effort in to maintain appearance. It just happens to happen. And then that was it. There was no more working out. There was no more wrestling. There was just no more physical activity. There was the softball league, but even then I had pulled back because, again, getting closer to 30, your body's like, nah, you can't keep driving this car at 80 miles per hour. The car's been on the road for a long time. Okay, you didn't put it in for oil maintenance. You didn't do any maintenance. You hadn't been to a doctor in, at that point, 10 years. So you got your physical to get into college, and then you just stopped going to the doctor. So at that point, the wheels are falling off, but they're not fully off. So you're still pushing through. You're still doing softball. You're still playing with the kids and like doing some physically demanding stunts for some of the stuff we were filming for the Dace Man show and BPP at the time, before BPP was what it is. And it's just, yeah, you can feel it. You feel it coming, the wheels coming off a bit. And then you're in a relationship. That relationship runs for about 3 years. The last year wasn't the best. She'll admit it. I'll admit it. It's just, then you're stressed. An episode that will pop up here on this season is the former job I had. We had gone through a transition in 2015, 2016 that put it into a place that is not good and just added more stress. So my physical outlet was gone because I got hurt 3 times. So three simultaneous, well, not simultaneous, but 3 injuries in a row that prevented me from wrestling, which then, mindset, why am I going to go to the gym, into a softball league where eventually I would stop playing outfield, kind of move to the infield, then eventually move to the bench, just, slowly taking myself out of a physical role and everything. In a relationship, the good parts where you get comfortable, so you start putting on a little, like that first year relationship, 10, 20, then the relationship starts to take a turn, both because of things happening in the relationship, things happening in work. You get stressed. I am a stress eater, apparently, and not a healthy stress eater. Like, it doesn't look like I'm a stress eater because I don't go, like, when we go out to eat meals and stuff, I don't eat a lot at the meals, but constant snacking. And just, something has to be near to put in, to eat. So that just compounds, and then basically you get to 2019, 2020, is the pandemic, so you eat some more. You can't really do it. I started losing some weight in 2020. I think at that time I I wouldn't say my worst weight, because my worst weight would be coming up, and basically the red flag of like, go do something. But I was in my 300s, and 300s are not good for anyone who's not a WWE professional wrestler and bodybuilder or an athlete that is like conditioned to be 300 and be able to carry that weight. I was 300 and just sitting, which then compounded. So, you went through the bad breakup. You lost a little bit of weight because, oh, I got to be better. I found somebody else 3 months later who is still with me today. You start getting comfortable. You do a lot of thankfully, she was someone who was active, so I did a lot to keep up with her. Lost a little bit of weight in 2020 because there wasn't much to do. Couldn't go to Phillies games. Couldn't go I wasn't going to work. So I was able to start getting into a routine and like get back into some kind of movement. And then, I'm still at the same job, which causes stress. And ultimately, that, I think, was the number one reason I gained weight. And we'll talk more about that in a later episode this season, but it was not a healthy relationship with that job. There was no... Once the sale had happened from the previous owners to the new owners, we went from... it wasn't a perfect HR environment or perfect caring about your people environment, but they did a hell of a lot better than what we ended up with, which was a hedge fund. And you were just a number on a book to them. And again, I'll talk more about that later on this season because fuck them, and they're not around anymore. But, just all these problems compound. Your mental state is a huge thing when it comes to weight loss. If you don't want to do it, you're not going to do it. It's just plain and simple. Call it as it is. It would take a lot of work to get out of the hole you're in, and you just openly say, nope, I'm going to eat this bag of Doritos and drink that 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew, and we'll see where it goes. So my mental state, I would say from 2019 to 2022 was not good. It just wasn't, and it compounded the issue. Then in late 2021, you get some news of like, hey, you're going to have a son. Something that, if you listen to past episodes, was not probable. I got lucky. And again, I'll talk more about that later on. And I think the weight loss journey is kind of a precursor to all the other episodes coming soon, because everything we talk about after this point and everything we've talked before has contributed to the gain and to the loss. So when I was told I was having a son, it was kind of, I was told I was having a kid. Didn't know the gender yet. Didn't find that out until 2022. None of it felt real. So nothing changed. It was just more of a, I'll believe it when I see it. I had doctors tell me it wasn't probable. Not that it wasn't possible, just not probable. And, I just, in my mindset, I didn't think anything good would happen at that point. So, fast forward to April 27th, 2022, 26th, when he interrupted Minecraft, which would begin a long, long list of interruptions that he would do going forward, and he does to this day. Now it's getting real. Now he's coming. And I still, at this point, did not care about my health, did not care about my weight, did not care about any of that. He's born. The greatest day of my life is having a little mini-me come out. And as I watch him grow, he looks more and more like me, and he acts way too much like me, which is a bad thing. Sorry, society, for what I have bred. But still, in those first few months, I didn't care about me. I cared about him. I cared about him a lot, and I did everything for him. I do everything for him, and I do everything for the other kids in my life. But I didn't care about me. And honestly, it wasn't until we went to Disney that November, so was it 6-7 months after he was born? Then I started seeing pictures. One piece of advice that was given to me by several people is take all the pictures you can. Take pictures, document it, because it's going to be gone quick. And here we are 2 years later, and it's weird looking at that freaky little blob. who confirms that all babies are ugly, even mine. Because in hindsight, in the moment, it's like, oh, I made this. This is amazing. But if you look back at it, babies are just ugly. But now that he's got facial features, he's kind of adorable. But I'm sure in 2 years when I look back, I'll call him ugly again anyway. I was in some of those pictures. I did not like what I saw. I did not like that when I held him, it felt awkward and was exhausting. And I was taking videos of him, and I can hear breathing. And it's like, why am I having problems breathing filming a video? I'm laying on bed watching him wiggle around, and I'm filming him, and it's just, you just hear... And it bothered me. And then Disney happened, and, I was exhausted within the first 2 hours of walking through a park. And here I am trying to have moments with my kids, and I'm miserable. And when you're miserable, you kind of set the mood for everyone around you, even though you're trying like hell not to. It just was not a good time. There was a hurricane as well, completely different story. But if I'm noticing it then, and I'm noticing it there, like in the pictures and the videos, and I'm not happy with myself. So then I start a new job after we get done Disney, which would require me to travel a lot. And I took my first flight in almost 3 years. It's the most painful experience I ever had. Flights are never fun, even when I was in my best shape, just because I'm tall. Now I'm tall and I'm wide. Now I'm at Cancun, where there's a lot of good-looking people walking around with shirtless, interacting with someone I hadn't seen in almost 10 years, and them noticing the size that I was without, and they're just being polite, because they could have been like, holy fuck, and they should have been like, holy fuck, because truly that's what it was. So all this is compounding, and I know that I'm going to be on the road more, and I know that I have to go through this. So finally, January 16th, ironically my mom's birthday, I walk into a doctor's office, and I look at the doctor, and like, this is the first time I've been here in nearly, I think at that point, 13 years. Fix me. You have to fix me. I have kids. I have a new job. I now have purpose. So like the mental state, it snapped. Instead of not caring, making the jokes that, yeah, I'm not going to be here, I'm not going to see that. Anytime they announced a movie, my natural response was, oh, I'm not going to be alive to see that. And it was a thing. Like, it's a joke, I would say 50%. Well, now it's a joke 90% of the time. But then it was a joke probably 30% of the time, because 70% of me believed that, like, I was going to eat myself into the ground. That I was just going to lay there, and every night I just thought, there's a good chance you don't wake up. So when I told the doctor, you need to fix me, they took my vitals, they took all my physical inspections and whatever the fuck they do at a doctor's office, talking like I'm a 18-wheeler getting inspected before you go on the road and cross a bridge. But I weighed 410 pounds. 410 pounds. And that number was not a number I ever thought I would ever hear. And it was rough. And I looked at her and I said, I got a kid. I got multiple kids. I got to at least make it 18 years. Okay? Just need to make sure they make it. How do we fix this? So she kind of talks me through it. She goes, okay, so can you exercise? And I went, nope, everything hurts. And I know that weight's not compounding it, and it's a vicious circle that, you're gaining weight because you're not working out, but you're not working out because you've gained weight. It's painful. You got bad knees as it was, bad back, probably broke your ankle. It's just physically it's not possible. Like I can't see it. I was like, I can get going. I'm going to get hurt. I'll lose 10 pounds. I'll put back on 30. And then you're talking to me in a few months and I'm at 450, and then we have a huge problem. So then she referred me to the bariatric division. Went through some consultations in February, March. At this point, I'd been traveling back and forth to Atlanta again, and it was painful. praying that the seat next to me would be open, feeling so sorry for the person who sat next to me when it wasn't. And then the consultations happened, and you went through a dietitian. The dietitian helped a little bit, and through the conversations and the checkups and the procedures, you can't gain any weight, and you can't lose a significant amount of weight. Otherwise, the lovely United States of America and capitalism and insurance will drop you and say you're not qualified for this procedure, either because you're not committed and you're gaining too much weight, and I think the weight gain couldn't be more than 10 pounds, and if you lost more than 25, I think it was, you can do this on your own. You don't need it. So it was a weird thing to fluctuate between, because I did end up losing 20 pounds before the surgery, or at least before we started the surgery prep, when I got the go or no go. And I had to be careful, because if I had lost 5-6 more pounds, I would have been disqualified, and they'd be like, okay, you go exercise, go diet, it's working. You don't need the surgery. We're not going to pay for it. Luckily, I guess, I didn't. Kept going through the meetings, the prep, all that stuff. The team there at Cooper was fantastic. Dr. O'Connell was phenomenal. I saw him maybe twice, and he fucking fixed me. So the mechanic of your gastral system, if you will, he hell of a job. That whole team there, hell of a job in Voorhees, hell of a job at Cooper and Camden. You don't usually associate good things with Camden, but they did a hell of a job. So I was on my roll. I was on the roll. So, like, I think a big pain point in that journey in 2023 is I had to go to LA for work pre-surgery, and I was about 380 at the time. No, I was sorry. I was still at 400. And you ever fly to California, it's 6 hours. I usually have window, because you can kind of get a little bit more room without getting nailed by a cart by leaning up against the side. 6 hours is not good on the body. And then I had to drive about an hour south, because the location was between San Diego and LA. And, you're cramped in a car for another hour. So that's about 8 hours worth of crampedness. When I got back, it was rough. So much so that I had to travel to Greensboro, North Carolina for work, and there were flights that were only an hour, but I chose to drive the 7 to 8 hours in order to save some of that pain. So I could stop, get out, walk if I had to, or just blow through it if I was able to. So the year of doing the consulting, I lucked out. I didn't do the one flight. Sorry, the one flight to LA was before surgery was the worst. But kind of eye-opening, like, hey, you have to see this through. So I get my surgery date. It's mid-August. I took a couple more traveling for work here and there. Maybe one day we'll talk about this new job that I have. But since it's new, fresh, and, I don't want to say anything about it until I get my feet under me. I don't want to be part of the Dacetacular Mind yet. But I get through that, and then mid-August is surgery. So the 2 weeks leading up to it, you have to do a liquid diet. It's fucking awful. Wouldn't recommend it. But it's worth it if you're going for the surgery. Like, if you're going through the surgery right now and you're doing it, just fucking stick to it. It's going to be worth it. It jump-starts you. That was the cool thing. Because at that point, when you're starting the liquid diet, you're in. You have your surgery date. They're not taking it back. Like, unless you fuck up the liquid diet, you're in. So I dropped like 30 pounds during that 2-week period, which was crazy. I think by the time I stepped into that surgical room, I was about 375. And they're like, ooh, you dropped a lot of weight. And I was like, yeah, it's because, the liquid diet is awful. You're supposed to drink like 6 shakes a day. I think I could only get through 3. If I was lucky. And the third one, trying to fight back throwing up because the chalky taste is just disgusting. The surgery itself, it was in and out, man. And I think if I had my surgery time a little bit earlier, and which would then have pushed my recovery time back earlier, I wouldn't have been in the hospital more than 24 hours. They had me out really quick. Minimal pain, which I was surprised because they do prescribe you oxy, they do prescribe you a bunch of stuff, acid reflux medicine, all that type of stuff. I lucked out. No, I had no pain issues in my. I mean, you're sore because somebody cut into you the first day, and they're pumping some pain meds into you while you're at the hospital. But when it was time for me to take my own, it was just don't twist too much and you're good. And it was just, I didn't really need the anti reflux disease or reflux medication, none of that stuff. I didn't develop a lactose intolerance, or whatever. If I had one, I still have whatever level I had before going in, so I was still able to eat ice cream and cheese and stuff. And nothing really fights back on me here, 6 months removed from the surgery. There's only two things that have ever really done me in, and they're the gummy bears that they swear up and down will give you the shits and make you throw up. They do. After years of being able to just pound a whole bag back, 3 of them fucking screwed me. And then hot dogs, for whatever reason. But again, these are 2 foods you probably shouldn't be eating to begin with. And hot dogs are give or take. Certain ones I can kind of have no problem with. The one that fought back on me was an Annie Ann's one, so it might have been the pretzel itself. Anyway, the surgery went great. The 2 weeks after, actually the 4 to 6 weeks after are hell, because you're learning how to eat again. In my mind, I was getting the surgery, I was getting fixed. I was just going to have smaller portions of what I used to eat. Not in that first 2 months. In the first 2 months, you have to gradually work your stomach back up. You don't want to pop the stitches. You don't want to expand your stomach. You don't want to drink carbonation. You don't do any of that stuff. Am I back to some of that stuff now? Absolutely. But not in the quantities that I used to drink. Drink a 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew in like one sitting? Not anymore. I drink maybe a 16-ounce Mountain Dew over the course of 2 days. The lack of caffeine was rough. I did kick it. I apologized to the people I worked around during that 2-week liquid diet because I knew that was going to be the toughest part, is kicking the caffeine, and I kicked it. Stayed off of it for about a month afterwards as well. Slowly reintegrated it back in, and now I'm at 1.5 cans a day. I don't drink coffee. I drink Celsius. It's not Monster, but I just can't drink hot fucking mud. But it worked. The surgery worked. Do I have some issues now? Yeah, absolutely. And stuff I'm going to have to work through, and stuff that it was a hell of a trade-off. I am now at 265. And here we are. I'm recording this at the beginning of March, end of February. It's a leap year, so, give or take. And a year ago, I was at 410. And I'm at 265. Insurance wants me at 200. Never going to happen. I want me at 235. I'm 30 pounds away from my goal. It's insane. I can wrestle with my kids now. I'm not winded by taking a video. I take the stairs again to the hotels. I walk the airports instead of taking escalators and the walkways that move you. I'm slowly back to what I was in my early 20s. Physically, no. I'm still keeping up with the doctors. I now see a chiropractor because apparently there's a lot of shit out of whack there. But I'm putting health in the forefront, which allows me to be there for my kids, which allows me to start living my life again, and ultimately get the passion to do this stuff again. Record podcasts, work on some new shows, actually care about what tomorrow holds. And it's been a heck of a journey. It took 6 years to get to my worst. 7 years. I think, we'll go 8 years. We'll say 2016 to, 7 years. 2016 to 2023 before I actually pulled the trigger. It took 6 to 7 years to get to my worst. I went from 235 at peak physical condition. I actually looked like I had some muscles, was able to move, was running, doing the wrestling thing. And in 6 to 7 years, I let that deteriorate to a 400-pound blob that couldn't breathe properly. Was told they were surprised the sleep apnea didn't kill me. to now within a year, almost back to where I was 6 to 7 years ago. Well, 8 years ago at this point. It's mind-boggling. And the crazy thing is, when I got my physical a year ago, my blood pressure was fine, my cholesterol was fine. Physically, I was fine, except I was fat and morbidly obese, which would eventually have caused a cholesterol problem, caused a blood pressure problem. And now I don't have that. I'm keeping up with the doctor. I do have certain issues now, but I think they're issues that everybody faces. I teeter to the low end of the iron spectrum. I think I did that before, just never monitored it before. I live in New Jersey. I have a vitamin D deficiency. We all have that most likely, especially during the winter when you don't get any sun. And I'm seeing a chiropractor. I have flat feet, but I don't have flat feet. I basically have no support down there on my feet, and I've been from what they said, I carry concrete bricks around with me, and that's just doing a number on my hips, lower back, and just completely out of whack. So I'm going through about 3 months of chiropractic appointments. I have one today, ironically enough. I'm fixing myself. I'm getting better. Some side effects of the surgery: I can't eat as much as I used to. It's frustrating, especially when you're watching prices go up on food, and then you only can eat half of what you bought. Luckily, I have a 2-year-old that will devour what's left. The joke I've made is my family started eating more now that I don't, and then I wondered to myself, were you not eating because you feared that I didn't have enough? Which kind of built a complex there. But yeah, the whole not being able to eat a normal person's meal. I can eat a slice of pizza. I'll fucking down that even if I feel like shit. I don't care. Pizza is life. One bite, everybody knows the rules except for the guy that made the challenge. I don't understand that. I can only eat half a breakfast sandwich. I don't eat sandwiches in general because of the bread. Soft pretzels will fill me for the day. Rice will do me in. I've had 3 instances in the past couple months where I do throw up after eating, and it's not throw up, like, you know how you get the stomach acid in it? No, this is just you were full, this didn't make it to your stomach, it came back out. Weird experience. Wouldn't recommend it. My own damn fault, because, I would work a full day and then get to the room at 8 at night and then scarf down wings and realize you should have only had 3 wings because that's all your stomach can handle, but you ate 8. And the other 5 decide time to get out. And then kind of like the skin thing, the beautiful thing about losing about 100 pounds since the surgery, and then a total of 140 pounds since I stepped in the doctor's office a year ago, it's wonderful because I can move, I feel good, you look good with the help of Under Armour. The skin has not caught up yet. So that to me is a little weird. It's a weird sensation that when I'm rolling around on the floor playing with the kids, you kind of feel it pinching a bit. Just because you have flaps. I don't have exaggerating flaps, but there's some sag because the skin hasn't caught up to the weight loss yet. But overall, I'm in a better mindset. Again, that's why you haven't really heard from me too much on the Dacetacular Mind. I'm physically better. I'm looking to get back into sports. I'm looking to get back into being on camera. It's very devastating looking at June 26, 2023, the final Dace Man show episode, and we'll talk more about that next episode of Dacetacular Mind. But this big dude, really big dude, very round face, no neck, a lot larger than I had realized I had become, and I hate looking at those pictures, but there'll be a constant reminder of not going back to that. An absolute constant reminder. But I think that's going to do it for us here on the first episode of Season 3 of the Dacetacular Mind. That was the weight loss journey, and man, was I was fat. I was not in a good spot. And for all of those people who dealt with me in that time, who, it's awkward to see a friend and someone you care about kind of let themselves go. It's rough because you don't want to tell them they let themselves go. You don't want to tell them they're not who they used to be, for starters, and you definitely don't want to point out physical appearances because there's good fucking chance they're already beating themselves up every time they look in the mirror. And it's rough because there was years I kept trying to be who I was. Physically, I wasn't there. It makes it a little impossible for other people. And, being that big is not good for your mental state either. Like I said, I'm nowhere near my goal. I said that at the beginning of this episode. I still look in the mirror. I still don't fully like what I see. And I think I need to keep that mindset to keep going to get to where I need to be. Without being obsessive to the point where, like, now you look like you went too far. But that weight gain definitely weighed on my mood and weighed on my attitude and just weighed on frustrations because in your mind, you are your peak self. Physically, mentally, like when you're trying to do something, you see yourself as how good you were, we'll say at your peak. So for me, we'll just say 15 days. You see that guy. When you're getting ready to take off and run after your kid or, hit a softball and try to run to first, you see yourself as 2015 days, but realistically you were 2023 days, 400 pounds. Your body can't handle it. The people around you see it, and they thank God they're good friends, and thank God they're people with empathy, understand that, like, you want to be 2015 days, but you're 2023 days, and it's not really working out well, but still put up with it because, you care. You don't, so many people that I see day in and day out that watched, you've all known me since 2015, with the exception of the person who I'm with now. What she ever saw in she got 2023 days out the gate and said, yep, I'm gonna hook my wagon to that fucking freight train, and I was the size of a freight train. But it's rough. And if you ever think to yourself, man, what did I do? How did I let myself go? I'm not saying that everybody should go get the gastric sleeve. It's not. It really depends on your situation. When I went and looked for help, I was physically deteriorating. I could not physically do anything. I didn't go in my basement because the steps were rough. I didn't walk to the goddamn mailbox. Everything was... I didn't do yard work anymore. It was rough. I thought cutting the grass that summer I was going to drop dead because I was winded after 2 passes. So the gastric sleeve was the right option for me. And it has forever implications. I can't eat as much as I used to. I haven't really played with alcohol because I've been told it's rough. Because you have such a small stomach, you have no tolerance. You're basically really building that back up, and you can't chug. So, like, if you're a big beer fan, the carbonation is just going to kill you. It kills me with my energy drinks and the soda from time to time. I have to take small sips. There's no more chugging. It just comes right back up. But I'm just saying, whether you look into options like that, and again, I don't think anybody I know is obviously at the point that I was at that desperately needs this, because 410 pounds is a fucking red flag, and I don't think I'm friends with anyone who is anywhere close to that or in that dire kind of situation. But push. And it's easier said from the guy that kind of took a shortcut with the surgery, but keep active. Keep pushing. You need to talk, I'll talk. You need me to ignore it, I'll ignore it. Whatever helps you get through it, get through it. Don't get to where I was. I gave up. I flat out gave the fuck up. I would say 2019, I mentally checked out. How the hell I found someone in 2020, it's a miracle, because I was checked out. No doubts about it. And it took a little kid and a video of me wheezing for me to actually say, this is fucking ridiculous. I care so much about this little one. I need to be here for him. I need to fix this. So I took, because I let myself get so bad, I needed the surgery. If you, again, nobody I know is at that level, at least to my knowledge. You may think that you're at that level, but 410 pounds. I'm just going to keep saying that number. 410, 410, 410. That is like 4 of the person I'm with. That is, God, that is awful. That is like 13 little Wades. Like, it's crazy. 410. Think of that number. Don't get to 410. If you need help, ask for help. Just, hey, I walked into a doctor's office, first time in 13 years, to a complete fucking stranger and said, fix me. And they did. Because if they would have been like, why don't you just go work out? I don't know if we're having this conversation today. At least there'd be a lot more wheezing. But that's going to do it for us here on the first episode of Dacetacular Mind. I hope you take this season ride with me. Feel free to go back and listen to other stuff, because I'll probably reference it. And hey, just if you need to talk. It's the most important thing. I am socially awkward and have issues talking to people about stuff, and that's why I do a podcast. I'm talking to you, but I don't have to see your face. I might be autistic. Awkward silence. Anyway, that's going to do it for us on Dacetacular Mind. Thank you for taking this journey. I'll unlock some more of this brain as we go on through the season. And next episode, we're going to talk about a very pivotal moment. A lot of pivotal moments in this season of my life. After a decade, we called it quits at the Dace Man show. So it'll be episode 2 of the Dacetacular Mind for season 3. Make sure you go like us on Facebook.com/Basement Protocol Productions. We do have stuff we're working on. We're hoping to relaunch. At the very least, you'll see the updates of when a Dacetacular Mind drops. And, you know, we're getting back into it. I'm getting back into it. And I hope I can help uplift people and keep pushing and doing what we used to do 10 years ago for another 10 years. So, for the few, for the proud, and for the Dacetacular, yeah, I can use that now because the other one's gone. And we'll talk about that next week. Remember, Basement Dollars, stick to the protocol. And we'll unlock this mind some more next week.